I feel like I'm in control of my life now instead of my eczema. Which, if you have eczema, you know how much that means just to be able to be in control. Never thought I would feel like this. Like, even at the beginning of the program, when we talked about what it could look like, this has like exceeded my expectations. It's just life changing. Like, I always dreamed that I could feel like this.
Hello, we have Chantal here, and we're going to be chatting about her eczema healing journey. When you started the program, I was just having a look. Your scores, I think the itching ones are at 9. And yeah, what are they at now?
On a bad day, like 3, maybe. Most of the time, like, I don't nearly itch as much as I used to. It's probably like 0 to 2, I would say. Yeah.
Wow, which is amazing.
Yeah.
You start the itch scratch cycle, right? And then it's you're scratching, you tear the skin, that creates inflammation, that starts again. But then it's also
Mhm.
just that weight, right? It's just always feeling itchy, feeling uncomfortable. And then also just, okay, am I going to get a flare up? It's that weight of, you can have some anxiety. Am I going to
Yeah.
be itchy? Am I going to be scratching my skin in public all the time? Am I going to have these rashes? And it's just all these different flow-on effects. So
Yeah.
cool that you've been able to get your scores down. And yeah, we're going to chat today just about some of the tools that have been helpful in your journey. And some of these are things that you can implement today, tomorrow. Some of there are some simple things. And then we'll just chat a little bit about some aha moments. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So what I like to do is just rewind and chat about your eczema healing journey. Can you give us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I've had eczema my whole life. Basically, as like a baby coming home from the hospital, there's videos of me like going like this, like a couple days old. Yeah, it's from the beginning. And it just got like progressively worse. I not only had eczema, I have another condition. I forget what it's called, but it just is like basically means dry skin, head like everywhere. And I, like most people, I think I've heard their stories. It was like on my ankles, behind my legs, my elbows, and my hands through my whole childhood. And at that point, my parents, I went to see dermatologists. My family doctor was always prescribing new creams, steroid, non-steroid. I tried oatmeal baths. I'd had like socks taped to my hands so I would stop scratching. I would anytime, like at night, like most people, I'd be sleeping and scratching, and my parents would take me, like wake me up and be like, well, let's get in the bath, try to make that better. But I would, if you're in the middle of scratching and it's in the middle of sleep and you're just like, don't have control over it, you're all cut open and it hurts to go in the tub. So I had all these things that were tried as a kid. When I got older, it got a little bit better, especially I noticed as a teenager that it was heat affected it a lot. So during the summer, I'd have it worse like on my legs and my elbows. But when the winter came along, that went away. It was just on my hands and my feet. I had things that made it worse, but it was always there. And I was never fully comfortable. I worried about everything that was going to bother me. I worried about what I was going to wear, what the temperature was going to be like. I have allergies as well, so it was like, is there animals there? Is there other things that are going to bother me? So it was this whole stress, like itch cycle, but also stress cycle. Like anything I did, I was always thinking about what are the things that are going to trigger it and adding unnecessary stress on top of that. I started doing diets that were helpful for a certain period of time. I went vegan and I got less, I saw some progress, but then it came back with a vengeance. I saw somebody that suggested I go gluten free. I tried that and I seen the best progress to that point, but it still wasn't great. And it was just, I never felt like to a certain point, I felt it on the inside. I was like, it feels like I just need to like get it out and then that'll start my healing. And yeah, at some point it progressed and I got it on my neck and my face. And then when we had to wear the masks all the time, when I took mine off after a couple months of wearing it, I'd have like a rash, the whole spot there, and it was like red, burning, itchy. And it was like that. It's still, I still get it, not as bad. But yeah, that was my feet healed at some point. So that was nice. It's basically like if I put my arms out like this, it's like this part of my body that was affected. So the part that everyone sees, that stopped me from going out. Yeah, that's the history, I guess, until I started a program just before I started this one, which focused on like kind of healing generational and childhood traumas. So I did a lot of like Reiki and tapping and body talk, stuff like that. That took a lot of, I dealt with a lot of my stresses. And I think it was a very helpful like intro to this program because I found that my triggers, there's a few. Heat is one of them. If I can control the temperature a little bit, that's very helpful. And processed sugary foods, obviously, and stress. So I've learned, as I thought it was a protective, like this mechanism for myself, but I knew the things that stressed me out and that triggered me. And I learned recently that I add levels of stress on top of that. So I'm not just dealing with my baseline, like the unavoidable stress. I'm dealing with all the levels of stress I put on myself that I think are going to protect me, but don't. So that I think was the biggest kind of like it's obvious when you say it and you realize it, but when I actually put it into practice and saw how much clearer my skin got and better I felt and how I was able to like heal from taking those stresses off, it was really that was like the biggest aha moment for me, I think. Yeah.
I'm glad that you said that because that is so big. And, for a lot of people, I think maybe midway through the program, they'll have that aha moment of stress. And they might even say, like, I'm not stressed, but they don't realize
Yeah.
that's a baseline. And then you don't realize that it's compounding because you can
Yeah.
have all these different parts of feeling stressed, but then you're like, okay, oh, I know that this is going to be worse for my itching, right? It's going to start the itch scratch cycle. And then you're hard on yourself. Why am I doing this again? And it compounds. And then you're just
Yeah.
stuck in these loops. And then you're scratching again. So you have that stress eczema cycle. Then you also have the itch scratch cycle that's happening as well. And then typically for a lot of people, then they'll just start eating a lot of foods that they shouldn't be eating. And then it's just this compounding thing and you can feel like you're in a deep hole. So that's
Yeah.
amazing, Chantal.
Yeah.
Congrats on that one. That's a big,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah. I strongly suggest like therapies or any kind of thing that helps you go inward. Because I think for me, it was the biggest. I can see why the program is only for people, is it 23 or 25?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's a certain level of self awareness that you need to be able to see what you're putting on yourself. That, like, if you're younger, you don't think about that and you don't really want to. So if you're able to like go down that path and take that responsibility, it really makes a difference.
It's spot on. And that's also why we are quite selective of who we work with because we want to work with people that are going to get results, right? We don't want people going through who aren't ready to do that work because we want people to be able to embrace all of it. Because it is, we say like ready to do the work because it is going inward.
It
And,
is.
the biggest piece of the puzzle is this brain skin connection. And it's, okay, what parts are coming up? And like having compassion for them, making friends with them. Okay, when are these parts? Like a lot of people have high perfectionist parts, and when can I utilize these parts? Because there's, it's great because they can keep me organized and clean the house and do all these things, but then also they can be detrimental in other areas too. So just making peace with them and being able to utilize the different parts of our systems when we need to. But yeah, it takes a level of introspection, and you don't have that when you're young.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, this has been a big journey so far, having it as a child, right? Scratching when, like literally when you're coming home from the hospital, having allergies and trying diets. So many people try to go vegan, then realize, okay, I actually do need protein because you need protein literally to heal, repair your skin, for your immune system, for everything. And I mean, you could be a vegetarian, but we have to be mindful of the nutrient deficiencies and really work hard at that. And then, yeah, going gluten free, and then going sugar free. That's such a common trajectory. And, people can get some really good results because sugar and gluten can be big triggers. But then it's really great that led you, okay, there has to be something more to this picture. What else is going on? And that brain skin connection is just so big. And that's the one that gives people the long lasting effects. Had you noticed in your journey that there hasn't been well since moment during stressful periods, or that your flares peak during stressful periods, or when you're overwhelmed or pushing yourself a bit?
Yeah. So when I started to really see a difference like 4 months in, I would say. That's when like I think all the work kind of the healing started to show through all the work that I was doing. And then I had an issue where I was living, so I had to move. Like my wife and child and I were moving. We're dealing with issues at the old place. We're looking for a new place to live, and I just got promoted, so I've got all that happening, and so a lot of the habits that I had kind of got pushed to the side because I'm like focusing on dealing with these fires that are happening. But this flare up that I had, I say flare up. My skin got drier. I had a little bit of the red rash that I get on my face, but I didn't have it on my hands, which in my arms. I when it was really bad, it was all up here. I didn't get any of that. On my hands, on my skin, or my skin on my hands just got a little bit drier, and I had a little bit of flare on my face, but I didn't. I knew it was temporary. I talked myself out of the flare up. I was like, I'm not going to be hard on myself. I'm going to deal with this. My skin will get a little bit worse, but that's okay. I can get it better. And I just didn't beat myself up for it. I knew I had the tools to go and get it back where and need it to be and to continue the journey. I had days where I was more stressed, but I was telling Mandy I have like I call it my emergency kit.
Love it. So good.
Yeah, it's exactly because that's what it is. Like I have moments where I'm like, oh, I'm so tense, and then I'm stressed, and my mind like it feels far away. And so when I realized that, I just like take a deep breath, I do my breathing, and then I tell myself like I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm healing. I think that's the biggest one for me. It was like I'm okay, I'm healing. And anytime I'd look at my face and be like, oh, I'm dry or whatever, it's okay, I'm healing. Like it's a journey. I'm going to be okay. I'm calm. I'm safe. I'm healing. And I just told myself that like from quite early on in the journey. And I, I just kept doing that. And I kept doing the tapping and breathing. And eventually it happened. My skin, I'm healing. I start saying like my skin is clear and all these things, like the things I wanted to see. And I just added that on. And when I'd have these moments of like really stress, I'm like, it's okay. Repeat that over again and take the deep breaths and I'd be present and then I'd go forward and do what I had to deal with. And yeah, I had a couple weeks of dry skin. I had a couple red flares on my face, but it just lasted half a day. And then it was
Jeez.
fine. Yeah.
And how
So
long would they last before?
like
If
a
you
full week and then I'd have multiple days of dry skin and then it would just flare up again. I had never so up until a couple months ago, I was never able to do this with my hands. I'd have
Wow.
at least one finger that had a cut on the inside or the outside, and so
Yeah.
I'd look like this or like kind of close. Yeah, but now I can like move my hands, close them. Like they still got that like wrinkly that happens when you rub and dry your skins, but they're clear and they're soft and smooth. And that was like I did it one day. I like had my hands like this. And I was like, I've never done that before. Like just the smallest little thing that people are like, that's such a weird thing to be excited about.
That's the thing with eczema. It's just the small things that you can't do because your skin is either you feel like I would always feel just like a lizard. Like I had just had this like dry cracked skin. If I moved my back, I could just feel it cracking. And
Yeah.
then just the little things that you can't do, just showering or coming into the shower without lathering lotion or like with your hands, like being in public. So that is so amazing. I'm so excited, and that is such a great aha moment
Mhm.
because like it is, that's exactly what it is. It's compounding, right? You see one little scratch on your face or you see dry skin and your brain goes, oh, I'm going back to that place. And then it goes into, okay, so it goes into that fight and flight survival mode, right? I need to do whatever it takes to not go there. So
Yeah.
then you have that adrenaline response, that cortisol response. That's going to suppress your immune function. It creates inflammation. And, this whole pattern goes in your head of, okay, I don't feel safe in my body.
Hmm.
And because I've gone to this place before, I don't want to go back. So just by you reminding yourself, oh, I'm actually okay. There's not a life-threatening event happening, which your brain can perceive off that, which is wild, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you just see, you get itchy or you see dry skin, but it's connected to so much more. Yeah. So to be able to break that pattern to remind yourself, oh, I'm actually safe and I'm okay. And
Yeah.
I'm fine. Is
And
it's
it works too. It sometimes at the beginning it takes longer,
yeah.
right? Like, but it's at that point it's like it's fake it till you make it. Like you tell yourself what you want, and then it comes back, and it does eventually. Like at the beginning, I was like, oh, I don't know. Like this is. I don't know. I don't think I can do this. But I was like, no, it's worth a try. Like I've tried everything else. I was at the end. I felt so uncomfortable all the time, and I was taken away from everything, like my family, my everything I wanted to do. I was just so miserable. I was like, I've got nothing. Like, what's the worst? Like, let's just try it. Let's hope for the best. And yeah, it just kept saying it. Just keep if you keep to it, like it does pay off eventually.
Yeah. That's the hard thing for people is that they'll try something and then they don't get an immediate response from it. And because we're so used, like the world that we live in, right? There's Amazon, you get something the next day. So we're
Yeah.
used to this like quick world. But if you look at the time that your body's been yelling out for help, since childhood, it does take time to reset those patterns and rewire those neural pathways. So it
Mm-hmm.
does take practice, but you notice that your window of tolerance increases over time. And when you
Yeah.
continue doing the work, and that's why we say it's a journey, right? You're in the program
Yeah.
for 6 months, which people are like, oh, that's so long. I was like,
It's not.
it's so long. It goes by quick. But when you think of over a lifetime, it's just this like small little speck. And it is the work that you continue doing, which is what a lot of people forget. They just go back to normal life, but you have to just continue doing that work and you see it pay off. And it's such a great payoff. It's just so rewarding when you put that work in and you see it. And what you said about the 4 month mark, it's across the board. Like most people, they'll say, oh, I've been consistent, I've been doing the things, and then everything shifted around that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it feels like from the inside for me, like I think clearer. Like my body just feels better. Like it's not just healing my eczema. Like it's a whole life. Like my life feels like it's better. Like everything just inside and out is just better. And like the people that I'm surrounding myself with also, like it's just yeah, it's more than just skin deep. Like it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. And I just love when, people come in the program, they embrace it all. You did the work, you showed up, and it's like that's the thing. It's not just about healing your skin. It's your whole life. And like people come into the program or even they're just, before they come to the program, right? It's the itchy rashes. Like I just need to get rid of it. But you don't
Mhm.
realize because you're in it, but how it does affect all aspects of life. So when
Mhm.
you do put that effort in, invest in yourself, commit, and you go through highs and lows because you do get flare ups, sticking with it, even when you have resistance, because it always comes up. Just knowing that it is, and I love having these interviews because you can't see people on the other side, how free and vibrant. And that's one of the things one of the other girls said. She's like, I just saw on the interviews like how happy everybody they were. She's like, I wanted to be one of those people. So I was
Yeah.
going to be one of those.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like a normal person. It's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people, they're just like, oh, just normal. And I'm like, but when you've been so far away from normal, just being able to do normal things and feeling like a normal person is just, it's like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It really
Yeah.
is. And like
Yeah.
my even just like my morning routine, like I used to wake up like even if I lather myself in moisturizer or whatever, like I wake up and I would be just dry everywhere and it's so uncomfortable. I just would go to the bathroom like all crunched up, just like I just need to get hydrated. And now like I still wake up a little bit dry, but my routine now instead of like being uncomfortable, like getting like I wouldn't always shower, but I just like take a cloth and get washed. Like I do that every morning and then put cream on and then I would be itchy from all the water and the cream and like going from dry to hydrated affected my skin. Going from hydrated to dry affected it. So I would just spend like an hour or more sometimes just getting my skin ready to get dressed and go for the day. And now it's like 5 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
great. Like I have time now to do stuff.
Yeah.
I have the
And you have
desire, energy
an
to
hour a
go.
day.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah.
Oh. And this is all freedom. We talk about, okay, what's freedom like from having your eczema? We're
Hmm.
always going to have eczema. It's always going to be there. But it's about having freedom for it, where it's not running your life. If I do get a little bit of a tickle or if I notice that flare up coming back, what's in my emergency kit?
Yeah.
Right? What can I use so it comes down in a day rather than weeks or never? So on that note, what are some other tools that you have in your emergency kit?
I use so when I do feel a flare up, I use the zinc cream. I put that on right away. Like
Yeah.
I at night actually because it goes on thick. So it's usually on my face. So at night I'll put that on. Wake up in the morning, take it off. Now it's completely better time of the morning. So that's great for me. But yeah, deep breathing because I when I feel stressed or I feel a flare on come on, the first thing I do is hold my breath because I'm just like waiting for it to pass. I feel like if I hold my breath and just push my way through, it'll be fine. But I realized that that's not helpful. So a bunch of deep breaths is like one of the things I do as well. Being present, so anything to keep me connected to where I'm at in the moment is helpful. So yeah, breathing, noticing where I'm at, going back to thinking like I name what's stressing me so that it's not kind of floating around. I'm like, okay, what am I worried about? And then I put the things down. Okay, what can I control? Like setting it out to be visible. What's in my control? What's out of my control? What's out of my control? I try to be like, okay, that's I control it. It's there. Control these things and move forward. Those are kind of like what I do in those moments of oh my god. And yeah, and like I said before, the affirmations. I guess like I am okay. I'm safe. I'm healing, my skin is clear and healthy, my body is healthy, are all all things I say that have helped me the past 6 months, and I'll keep doing those moving forward. And it's a journey. Like I've had it for 32 years. It's gonna be a long process before it's like best. But at this point, I would say that where I'm at now, my eczema is like dormant. I guess like I have dry skin now. Is kind of what I'm dealing with.
Great. That's great. Because, yeah, I always say, eczema, it's not just a skin condition. So, yeah, there's dry skin, but you need that inflammation that creates that eczema and that inflammatory response in your body. So, yeah, those tools are amazing. And I mean, they're very similar to what I used to. Love the zinc oxide cream and deep breaths. Because, yeah, you don't realize when you're stressed, you're shallow breathing or that just not breathing.
Yeah.
So then when you don't have air, your body goes, Mayday, Mayday, hang on, I need
Yeah.
air.
And
So many
oxygenating
stress
your body.
response and stress response. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it helps get like the healing through it, like the oxygenating. So like I notice especially like through if you do meditations, like you can't do them in the moments where it peaks of stress, but like when you have a moment to sit down and do it when you're meditating and you're doing the deep breaths, like just the calm that you feel afterwards because your body is all like relaxed and oxygenated. It's great.
Yeah, and your body needs that break in a day. Because when you're like, if you just went on a day and you weren't conscious of all these things, right? You wake up, okay, you're feeling itchy, there's a stress response. Okay, I need to run out the door, get to work. Okay, somebody cut me off. All right, I have this meeting and it's just go, 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 go. So it's just exactly like you were saying before, stress on stress on stress on stress. So if
Hmm.
we can create these spaces, like in a morning ritual, just to come down and create some space and be in that moment. And it's like it all sounds cheesy, right? Be in the moment, it's what everybody says, but it's true, right? Like be
Yeah.
exactly like you said, be aware of your surroundings because we can be caught in our head for like a day. And when I was younger in my 20s, I remember a full day would go by and I would just what happened? Like I was literally just in my head the whole time.
Yeah.
Like and not even really being able to remember what had been going on because there was just so much happening in my head. And at that time too, I thought that I was just chill as well. So looking, I was thinking, wow, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just taking moments just to break and reset and calm your nervous system. So then if you do have a stressful moment, you've trained your nervous system that you can go back down
Hmm.
because it's not just about doing the deep breaths when you're stressed, it's doing that consistency with your morning ritual. So then when you can drop into that and you can be flexible. So you can have a stress response without getting itchy and going into a flare
Yeah.
up.
And I notice it happens less now. I think like the more you practice it, the easier it is. Or, like I'd have moments where I'd think of something that I needed to do or realize I did something that I was like, oh no, that trigger stuff. And then I'd have like a spike of I can feel it like just rise, or I'm like, oh no, and then so in like the first thing I would say is like, I'm okay. Like I think that's the biggest thing. I always feel like I wasn't okay. So whenever I feel that, like that's the first thing I say, and then it just like can feel things calm, just to try to like lower that spike. And the more I did that and realized like I don't have to have that reaction. Like it's helped a lot of the things that when I feel those moments or those things where I realize something I forgot, I have a moment of like, oh no, but it's not, it doesn't spike up like it used to. Like I don't feel as stressed when I remember it as I did 4 months ago. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. There's those small things. Like I never realized that that could be controlled in that kind of way. So it's nice to see that as well. Just like I can think of something like, oh no, I have to do that, and it's not stressful. It's just like a thought, like, oh, I want to get this. Oh, I have to do that. It's not, it doesn't have to trigger a stress response. It's just like a memory. Like, yeah.
That's so cool. And that's just responding versus reacting. And like there's so many passing thoughts in our heads of every time we're reacting, which, a lot of people that do feel anxiety, they would be reacting to a lot of thoughts and then you get caught in those loops. So just being able to, in meditation, I think it's headspace. He always talks about thinking of them as clouds just passing by or boats just passing by. So that's the whole aim of the game, which is great because
Which
it's
is like you said, when you're in those moments, the same as the stress, you don't realize it. And so when you come on the other side and be like, oh, that's not actually great, but you can change that. That's
yeah.
interesting.
And for a lot of people, they I always feel when people like talk about their anxiety like it's who they are
Yeah.
and don't realize that it doesn't like there's a lot that you can do to manage that and it doesn't have to be that way and but yeah when you're in it it's hard and it's heavy but yeah coming through it and dealing with your anything that's happened in the past and doing a lot of the work that you've done too is really good because when you haven't felt safe that affects your cortisol response in your body, right? Because anything
Hmm.
that happens, your pituitary gland is going to go in overdrive right away and just say, oh, there's a little bit of cortisol in the system. Okay, hang on, mayday. And then it could go just into a collapse too.
Yeah.
So it really is reprogramming all of those responses, which has been a really big part of my journey as well. And it is honestly life changing.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so in the program with like other triggers, was there anything else that came up just in terms of investigating your root cause?
So stress. Let's see. Sleep definitely. I'm again I'm out of my routine, so my sleep cycle's not great, but
Yeah.
I was able to get it in a good spot, and I am going to get it in a good spot again. But I practice like most nights. I have my phone away before bed. I had an alarm clock and not a phone to wake myself up, and I try to be in bed between 10 and 11 and wake up. And that at first I was like, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't affect me. And then after a few months, I was like, okay, no, I can notice a difference. And it allowed me to wake up at a reasonable time, which I noticed too if I sleep past a certain point, my skin always feels worse. So if I'm able to go to bed, sleep well, and wake up before like 8 o'clock, I feel better. My skin feels better. It just starts my day well. So that was a big thing because I was always one of those people that I would inconsistent bedtimes. I'd go to bed at 10 and then I go to bed at 2 a.m. and it would just flex like that all the time. I'd sleep till 8, I'd sleep till 10. It was always it's all over the place. So that was a big change trying to get that consistent, and it's worth it. It as much as I liked staying up and sleeping and waking at different times, it was definitely worth it. And also like that routine got my body into a better sleep cycle. Like I was able to fall asleep easier after a couple months of doing it and stay asleep. That's also a big thing. And I had a routine because I would always wake up scratching and itchy. But I realized that if I go through this routine of like um, getting washed and hydrated, and I would itch a little bit, and then if I did that before I went to bed, I was less likely to wake up in the night itching, which was helpful because then if I slept and I itched at night, it was always worse. because I didn't control the pressure. I didn't realize what was happening. I'd wake up and be like, oh, I would never have let this happen during the day. Or, but so that was great. What else? The mindset was the biggest, I think. Nutrition as well. I had tried like lots of diets, but I think really trying to be aware of balancing. So like eliminating or drastically minimalizing processed foods and increasing vegetables. Like I try to eat like organic local meats and stuff anyway, so there's less additives and stuff in the meat that I eat, but avoiding processed stuff and adding extra cups of vegetables. And I noticed, and I added that portion on top of what I was doing. I saw great improvements as well. And movement, the funny connection and movement, those are ones where like I'm in a spot. I was living in a spot that it wasn't very easy to do those things, but I tried as much as I could. And I think just like not putting pressure on it, but being intentional to incorporate it when I was able to made a difference. Not feeling like, oh, my skin's not good, I'm not going to do that thing, I'm going to cancel with my friend. I'm like, no, I don't see them very often. I don't, my skin doesn't feel great, but it's going to be worth it. And just pushing myself to do that, it's great. It's true that once you go out, your mind's not thinking about your skin, and even if you're dry or red or whatever, like you're not thinking about it, or if it is, it's like a whisper in the back, whereas you're able to focus on the fun. So like pushing myself to do that was worth it. Um, yeah, it's like little aspects of each area that like you just push those things in. Because yeah, like I always realized that food affected it, but I think my idea of how food affected it wasn't right. Like it was an aspect of it, but not the right full idea, I guess, of it. It's hearing the pillars and how seeing like the modules and how to be aware of them and steps to make them change, I think was really eye opening just how much it affects. And yeah, I would say that all of them to a certain extent were really necessary for me to like dive into because none of them were where they should be. And I don't think I was aware of how important they are to my healing. Uh, yeah.
It's so easy to breeze past those because I see and this is my journey too, so many people fixating on food. Okay, what do I need to eat? Oh, I need to cut this out. And yeah, it all makes a difference, but I just love what you said. It's all of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, what people try and do is focus just on the one thing. And they're like, okay, that didn't work. Or focus on this thing. Okay, it didn't work. But you need to do it all together. Because the body is, we have the mind body connection, you have all your organs, it's everything working at once, it's nothing isolated. So like with the healing pillars, it's the mindset, sleep, nutrition, digestion, movement, fun, and connection. So doing all of those together is what makes the difference. And then that fun and connection, I love that you spoke about that because like we've all done it, canceled plans because we've been in a flare. And, especially your friends don't care. But, we can create a story about it. And like I loved what you said is like it was there, but the noise in the back of your head just it was a whisper.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you just need a break from your eczema sometimes. And just being able to go out, forget about it, because it's a loud noise when you're at home and it's all that you have to
Yeah.
think about. Yeah. And then also the sleep one, that's such a big one. And there's a lot of people that are really resistant or saying, I just can't go to bed earlier. And, you know, when people actually do make that shift, they feel so much better. And I love what you had described of you had your routine before bed where you noticed that you didn't scratch as much in the middle of the night because
Mm-hmm.
that's the time. Like I remember waking up every night and it was in the summer, so I had tan skin. So every night I could just see like skin underneath all my nails.
Yeah.
It's the worst. And then like cuts, and then yeah, exactly like you said, you can't control it.
Mm-hmm.
And in the period before midnight is when you get the most deep sleep. So, if you're going to bed after midnight, you miss all that time, that restorative time, where all your cells are literally just repairing and regenerating in that deep sleep. So really proud of you. I know that there's lots of resistance for changing sleep schedules on that.
Yeah. But I think the biggest thing is like I still scratch now sometimes. Like I every day. Like I still have moments, especially when I wake up. Like sometimes if I put the cream on, like I get itchy. But the healing that I've done, like my barrier, skin barrier is stronger.
Nice.
So I used to just put like if I would just go like this, you'd see white. It would be like dry skin. But like now, if I have an itch and I scratch, my skin is stronger, so it doesn't rip. So I can actually just like a normal person just itch and itch and it's fine. It's not it doesn't turn into like the skin doesn't break and then it's like, oh it's broken so now it's gonna spread and all that stuff. Like it's it's just a normal itch that I have and my skin is strong enough to just be like, yeah, do that.
Yeah. And that's the whole idea is creating skin resiliency.
Yeah.
So skin isn't so thin and it can be like baby skin when you have a flare and you've had just like flare after flare where you just nick it and then it just starts weeping. So
Yeah.
that's a really, really, really great sign. Question, have you ever noticed that you start scratching and you're not itchy? You get a
All the
little
time.
the habitual itch.
Yeah. I feel things and I'm just like, oh, that's gonna bother me. And then you start and it feels nice, but you're like, I'm not itchy.
I'm not itchy. What am I doing?
It's like a comfort thing. I think especially if you've had it for so long, it's like for me anyway, like it's my whole life. So when I'm stressed, I get itchy and then it feels nice. So it's a comfort. It comforts me when I'm stressed.
Yeah.
And it adds to that cycle. And so I notice now if someone starts talking about something stressful or something comes up or I'm busy at work, I'm just like I'm not itchy. Stop.
Yeah. And it's a great tool because you're like, oh, okay, so I'm activated in a way. Oh, this is when I could do breath work.
Yeah.
So you itch. No, I need to breathe.
Yeah. It's a signal like, okay, it's happening, like be aware. And oh, water too. I started drinking this from this big water jar.
Oh, love it.
That was also something increasing the water that I drank in the day was very helpful.
Yeah, that's a big one. Just because if you do have dry skin, then oh yeah, that's where your skin barrier is what holds in all the moisture. So then
Hmm.
if you do have dry skin, you actually need more water. And most people aren't drinking enough water anyway.
Yeah.
So just having those water bottles. So I have mine and I have some big ones too. And I just leave them around the house. So every time I see them, I just start chugging water.
Even if you're not thirsty, like
Yeah.
I feel like people get it's hard to start drinking water if they're not used to it, and everyone
Yeah.
goes to cold water. Like I can't stand cold water, like room temperature water, because I can just chug a bunch and I'm like, ah, I'm hydrated. Like it's
Yeah.
much easier to drink. So I know I just tell people like getting yourself used to drinking room temperature water is worth it because then it's so much easier to drink.
Oh, you know what? I used to love cold water, and even now I go back home and my pop is like, "Oh, do you want a bunch of ice?" Because I used to love crushed ice when I was younger, and now, yeah, I only really drink room temperature water. But
Yeah,
it's so much easier to drink water when it's room temperature rather than being cold.
it's true.
That's a great tip. Um, Cool. So, if there's anybody watching and they are at the beginning of their eczema journey and they might be using creams and playing around with different diets, what would be some words of wisdom that you would share for them?
Like that, were they like starting the program kind of thing
Even before that, if they're just
before?
researching on Google, yeah.
They're just researching on Google. I would suggest for them to look up your name, obviously. Worth it. But I would say that like it is possible. What you're going through now is not the end. Like if you're looking for answers, they're out there. There is a way to live a better life, and yeah, just keep keep pushing, keep at it. Your work will pay off, and it will be work. It is very very much a journey, a long, steady healing journey, but it's worth it.
Yeah, it's good words of wisdom because it could feel like you've tried it all, or I just have to live with this. But there's so much that you can do, and that's like my whole message and my whole mission is to help. Well, one day it would be great if there's a world where people didn't suffer from eczema, where you could live
Mhm.
with it and it's just a thing that you have and you have this toolkit. So if you do get a flare up, it's okay. You have all these things. So yeah, it is work, but it pays off. And yeah, and just as you said, you get your life back and it's not just about your skin. It's just about day to day, how you feel, relationship with other people as well.
Yeah.
So
I wish that this was something that doctors would kind of come around to, because I feel like most people, if they're experiencing issues with eczema, the first place they go is the doctor. And it's just, I mean, I was that person like up until, I don't know, I think I was probably like 20 or something before I was like, the doctors aren't helping. Like, I'm done looking there. And it's just like knowing what is possible through like what I've lived this past year, and like reducing stress and going through the program and learning all of the things that are helpful. I just realized that like if this was an option for me years ago, how much better my life could have been earlier. And like I'm not trying to like wish anything different, because I'm here at this point for a reason. It's just something that it would be nice that more people were aware of, to be able to make the change for themselves earlier. And even, I know a lot of it has to do with self-awareness, but a lot of the things can also be put in place to support even children, like younger people, teenagers, like not to the extent that we go through in the program, but enough to make some aspects easier. And so it's, yeah, it just would be nice if everybody was a little bit more aware of how much it can affect, for us it's eczema, but I feel like for other people they experience it in other ways and other symptoms pop up. But yeah, healing.
yeah, I think about that all the time. Like in school, you should learn how to be human, right?
Yeah.
What are the things that you need to know to be a human? How to sleep, how to eat, right? How to regulate your nervous system. Because, the program, it's specific to eczema, but it is the basis of how to, like, what do you need to function as a human, to
Yeah.
thrive? Yeah, there's aspects that are common with eczema, obviously, that we go through, but like it is pretty basic stuff, but it's just about doing it and
Yeah.
having a support to do it, because everybody has resistance, and I'm sure you had so many moments of resistance in the program. Um, or like, challenging periods, right? And usually when challenging periods happen, you're like, okay, I don't have time to be dealing with all that. But that's when you need those tools the most. And I do it all the time. Like when I I get the aha, or the little tinkles in my skin just recently, because there's been a lot happening with work and life. I had all my friends from Canada here and really pushing myself, and then I start getting tingly, and then I say, oh, okay, I don't usually drink, so I was having drinks because it was my friend's wedding. I haven't been sleeping as much. I've been working late, not eating, not taking breaks, doing all those things. And I'm like, oh yeah, these are the things I need to go back to. That
Yeah.
engine light is going on. So instead of it being Mayday, it's the worst, you have the tools to be able to manage that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so last one, if you have any words of wisdom for people just starting the program. So they're in the first 4 weeks, there's lots going on. What would you say?
I think knowing that all of the resources and the modules are there, like it's tempting to go through and look at everything and want to do it all at once. Um, but it's definitely worth it to do it one at a time and take your time, really focus on what you're doing. It's it will help. It's going to help, and it will take time, but it's worth it. Slow and steady is the way. It's the key. Yes, healing. Healing is like put what you can in, and don't stress with what you can't control. Like, I think the first response is to be like, oh, I should have done this. I should do this. Don't. You're doing what you can, and just keep doing what you can, and it will pay off.
Yeah, that's really, really, really important, because you're there, and it's what we say at the beginning is the number one thing you want to focus on is just staying in contact. So just making sure that you're either coming to the calls or just sending us a message, doing a win or reflection in the group, and just being consistent, because it is just about creating consistency at the beginning. and getting into that routine. And yeah, a lot of people want to go through all the modules, but I love that you said that. Just focus on the one thing that week because we're so used to having so many different inputs and so many different things happening. Yeah, there's going to be other things you're going to focus on, but this is meant to give you space to just to do the one thing, refine that, see how you feel. So, like when you notice, okay, if I go to bed and do this routine, I don't get itchy at nighttime. You gave yourself space to actually notice that difference. So then you create that feedback loop in your brain. Okay, I do that again. So if I don't want to itch at nighttime, otherwise you're just doing all these things and not knowing.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. And when you're able to like have that routine and then add on to it, like everything that you add on, like is a seed that's planted, right? Like it all adds up, and like if it's something, and with healing especially, like it's like planting a seed. Like you put it in, and then it takes some time, but eventually it starts to sprout. And I think that's kind of what happens around the 4 month period, is like the green starts to poke out. Yeah, it's like,
Love
oh
that.
yeah, yeah,
Great. I love gardening, so you're speaking my language. But that's exactly it. And we say that it's all the one percenters adding up. And
yes,
it's not about it being a quick fix, right? It's, you have to get your body in that state to heal. And when there's been a lot of activation in the nervous system, or you've had nutrient deficiencies, or we need to work on the gut and we need to work on your liver, all of that, it does take time. And
hmm
across the board, it's that 3 to 4 month mark where it just shifts and that seed starts to sprout and you get the little sprouts coming out. Yeah.
and it's something that like it takes time, and I know, like I know for me it's going to be a lifetime journey. Like I've had it my whole life, so it's going to take my whole life to, you know, probably just the same amount of time on the other side to really work on that healing. And I think, yeah, it's worth it. And like I said, I've noticed the change, like not just in my eczema, but throughout all aspects of my body. Like my gut feels better, and my insides just feel like I used to feel inflamed, like not just from my skin, but like inside. It was just like I keep feeling all the time, and I don't anymore. Like I feel good, and it's, yeah, it's worth it to put those tools in, and grow that seed and see what it grows into.
And what are some things that you've noticed in your day-to-day life that have changed?
Um, well, my routine's much faster, which is nice. Like just, I mean, I just have other aspects that I put into it, but just getting ready is faster. So I have more time for myself. I also have more time like with my relationships. So things are better with me and my wife, because I'm not always like, don't touch me, I'm itchy. Like, or like she come in and be like, I'm flaky, you can't touch me, I'm gonna get flakies all over you. I don't do that anymore. I have a 5-year-old daughter, and I'm able to actually like play and interact with them, not like, oh, hold on, I have an itch, or just let me do this before I can come back and play. So just like my quality of time with them is much better. I'm more focused at work. I'm feel like I always get up and like go tend to an itch or something like that, but I was always not really as focused as I could be. So now I'm able to do that better. I say yes to things a lot easier. I'd have to kind of like rope myself and be like, it's gonna be worth it, and it would be this whole struggle, and okay, I'm going. Now it's like, oh, I want to do that. Yeah, I'm gonna go do it. I don't stress. I don't add unnecessary stress to my necessary stress, which is huge. And yeah, I just feel like I feel like I'm in control of my life now instead of my eczema, which is if you have eczema, you know how much that means, just to be able to be in control. So
Oh, I love all of that. That is so nice to hear. And yeah, it's just, the reverse of eczema affects everything. Being able to heal it, it just makes life so much easier not having that weight. So
yeah,
really, really, really proud of all the work that you've done on yourself and the program. And yeah, it's just, you have the biggest smile on your face. There's so much vibrancy. So really, really proud of you.
well, thank you. I'm very proud. It's exciting. Yeah, never thought I would feel like this. Like even at the beginning of the program when we talked about what it could look like,
Yeah.
this has like exceeded my expectations. So
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is that like for you?
It's just life changing. Like I always dreamed that I could feel like this. I used to think I was like I'd have I don't know my dry itch. I felt like a snake that needs to like shed its skin and come out and feel soft and smooth. And I was like, oh, I hope one day I'll feel like that. And I do. That's how it feels now. Like what I imagined, what I thought would be impossible to achieve. Like I'm I'm there. Yeah.
Oh, that's so amazing, Chantal. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, sharing your journey, giving people hope. And, there's so many, not simple, because it takes time, consistency, and work, but there's definitely a lot of things that people can implement from our chat today. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing your journey.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you for creating this program. It's wonderful. Very grateful.
Oh, all right. That was so good, Chantal. Thank you. Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
beyond. Yeah, it's just wonderful. Like
yeah.
even on rough days, I'm like, oh, this is not bad. Like I remember what it was, and I just feel yeah, feel wonderful. Thank you.